And welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs. That man over there is Wildman Chris Wilds, and we are thankful that you decided to hop on another um, dealing with the reality of what is Ohio State football edition of the OHIO podcast. Chris, as this fan base continues to deal with the fallout of what was an absolute debacle in the shoe last Saturday, the overall feeling from this fan base is one of anger, confusion, heartbreak, and as my good friend Eric Osbeck put it, as he and I were chatting back and forth, Eric's been one of our biggest supporters from day one,
Yep.
and Eric said, he said, Boggsy, he listened to our show. He goes, I gotta call in Thursday. What's the number? I think he's called in one time. He's like, I
Yeah.
gotta call in. He goes, I don't know that I'm even gonna watch the bowl game. That's where
Well,
we're at, man.
that
That's
is where we're
where
at.
we're at.
There are so many people and who've just they've lost the faith. They've lost the faith. They've lost the desire. Ryan Day has taken their smile.
Right? When's the last time Ryan Day smiled? Indiana. He that was a good day for him. The Indiana win was a good day for him. But I'm it's apropos. I'm wearing my "We Want Angry Ryan Day" T-shirt, and I'm like, this is quickly becoming a classic because I don't know how many days. I think his days are numbered, Chris. Like, in all honesty, even if he's given another year, I almost feel like this is going to be a wash. He's a dead man walking as a head
I
coach.
don't see how they can give another year, Eric, because I'll tell you what's going to happen is donations are going to dry up really fast.
Well, and I think recruiting. We'll see. We'll see how how this goes
It's
in the
hard to get
coming weeks
recruiting
and
without the
months.
dollars.
That's why I'm saying we'll see how this goes. I mean, that would be a big indicator, I think, for what those dollars are going to look like. Now, I as I was thinking about this and looking over things, I'm in my head wondered, is Ryan Day as a football coach, as a head football coach of Ohio State? I asked myself this question because one of the things I have done from day one, Chris, and you and I have gone back and forth on this, is I've defended him by saying he's learning on the job. And one of the things I said is he's very smart as a coach, and when he makes a mistake, he would typically fix it and correct it and wouldn't make that same mistake twice. The
Yeah, learn
problem
four.
is the problem is that's no longer true at all. He's made the same mistake when it comes to taking on that team up north multiple times now, over and over and over again, trying to beat them at their game, and he cannot do it. So, saying that, I have to ask the question, has he regressed as a football coach? Instead of getting better, is he getting worse?
My first instinct is to say yes, but I will temper it at this. I don't think we know how good of a coach he really was based on his first 2 years because he was still running through Urban's roster. Urban's culture still was lingering in the room at the time.
Sure.
That definitely is going to impact the way the team was playing. When we get to his players, no matter how great they are, and don't get me wrong, Ryan Day has recruited some very, very talented, great players, and it seems like we've wasted them. Because, like you said, I don't think he's learning from his mistakes anymore. This Saturday proved that. This past Saturday, he literally showed us the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting to get a different result. He went out there, like you said, trying to beat this team at their own game, running right at two first round draft pick defensive linemen who
Why?
were just
To sh-
gobbling him up
to prove he's tough?
to prove he's tough. He's trying to prove it to everybody else. They've gotten. I know you hate this expression. They sit and talk about Michigan living rent free in his head. I don't know that it's Michigan living rent free in his head. I think all the naysayers are starting to live rent free in his head.
He's in his own head, as the saying goes. He's in his own
Absolutely.
head. Um,
He is determined that he is something that he's not. And here's the problem. The play calling reflected that Friday.
yes. I go back and I look at when Ryan Day first arrived at Ohio State in 2017. He was this aggressive um, passing play caller whose passing concepts were beyond Urban Meyer's spread offense, and he was able to put his passing concepts inside of Urban's spread offense, and he ran it well with JT Barrett in 2017. you know, Dwayne Haskins comes in 2018 and breaks all kinds of passing records we hadn't seen before. You then move on to Justin Fields and that electric offense, which was good enough to win a national championship, but the defenses were terrible in 2020 at least. 2019 is a different story. I would love to have seen what would happen against LSU if the refs wouldn't have stolen that one against Clemson from us. Um, but you think about those days and you think about where we were then and where we are now. Ohio State's got a national championship level defense, and the offense, by God, has regressed. That is
This
undeniable. You
this
can
yeah.
you cannot sit here and tell me with a straight face that our offense today is better than what we had in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. It is not. It is not what we had under CJ Stroud, Dwayne Haskins, Justin
Justin.
Fields. It is not what we even had under JT Barrett in 2017. It's not the same offense. It is inept at times. It looks, and don't get me wrong, this is not me bagging on McCord or Howard, okay? But no one's sitting here saying that Will Howard is a bad quarterback or that Kyle McCord is a bad quarterback. They're
But they're not first round picks, Eric. That's the
they're
thing.
not CJ Stroud, but no one's saying that.
No.
No one's saying that. But this offense, what is this? Like it's really all right.
Eh,
That's beside the point. The question is, has Ryan Day regressed as a coach? That's the question, and I posed it to you all on our Facebook page, and that question was like it just blew up, Chris. It
Did you
just
break the internet,
absolutely.
Eric?
We might have broke the internet with this one because fans were just they wanted to be heard. Let's dive into this. By the way, here's just the records. And I'm not saying that you can look at records, Chris, and that determines whether someone is or isn't getting better or worse I'm not saying that at all, right? It's just records, okay? But you look at Ryan Day as a head coach, 13-1 in 2019, 7-1, that's the COVID year 2020. 2021 11-2, 2022 11-2, 2023 11-2, 2024 so far this year 10-2. Has he regressed? That's the question. Let's read these comments. I'll let you respond to them. Here we go. Dan Carter. And by the way, there's 68 comments. And this has only been out there for, about 10 hours or so.
You say there have been long.
Who knows, but I've blocked out the conversation, as should he. Actions speak louder than words. He needs to go out and win. He should keep quiet until he wins the Natty.
Uh, I don't disagree with his point of view, but I don't think that Ryan Day should have a chance to win a natty. But that's just my opinion.
Well, you're really not going to like this next comment from Scott Bowling. They going to win it all. I don't know
What
where,
would what
how.
would make him think that this team can win it all? And again, this is not a shot at the players.
Speaking into existence, right? We're gonna speak it
This
into
is not a
existence.
shot at the players. But Scott, you need to stop looking at this thing through those scarlet and gray lenses because facts are facts. The play calling has been awful. It's been
You
timid.
realize?
The coach scared.
Do you realize there's a chance he's gonna have to beat Tennessee, Georgia, Oregon, and throw another team in there back to back to back to back.
I'll be honest, Eric. I don't know that he can beat any one of those teams, and that includes what
Listen,
will
I think
probably
we have
be
a
a
better
three-loss
roster than
Georgia.
Tennessee. I think we're a better team than Georgia. I would love nothing more than to get a second crack at Oregon, but and I don't even know who the fourth team would be. Just pick one, right?
Yeah.
That's in the top 12. But you mean to tell me, given what we just saw take place last Saturday, that you have the confidence in this coaching staff to put 3 game-winning game plans together against those 3 teams, and you're going to knock all 3 of them off? I have I'm not there. I'm sorry. I'm going to
The
try to get myself there, Chris. I am, because I'm
the
a
only
glutton
way
for
they've got a
punishment,
shot,
but my gosh.
the only way they got a shot at a first round win, Eric, is if we have a blizzard and an SEC team has to come up here and play in it.
Even then, Chris, I don't know that
But
he
then
would.
I don't think he can because he's
Look at
shown
what
that he
we
can't run the ball.
it was sunny and breezy and 20 some degrees. That is prototype. Woody Hayes would have been out there in a short sleeve shirt with his tie and his black ball cap, scowling at the players. You know what? That's part of the problem. That's another video. It's another video. I'm not even going to go there. Bill Logsden doesn't know how to put a good coaching staff together, says Bill about Ryan Day.
I don't know that I disagree completely.
I
I think he's made some good hires.
Yeah,
Here's the problem. When he started hiring friends, he got himself in trouble. Because you look, what are the two biggest problems on this team?
that's the same thing Urban
Chip
Meyer did
Kelly,
too.
Chip Kelly, and Justin Fry.
Yeah. It's the same thing Urban Meyer did. Got in trouble. Oh man, listen, Justin Bowman. It's been a long time since we've seen Justin. Justin's been a big follower of ours for a long time. I wouldn't say he's regressed. Looking at the big picture, I think he's been about the same every season. Well,
No.
that's not a good thing either. Then
But
you've
he's
got to be
regressed,
getting.
Justin.
If you're not getting better, you're getting stagnant, right? If you're not moving forward, you're staying still, and then you're in the friend zone, as they
Here's
say,
the
right?
thing. We are 2 years removed from an offense that was averaging 45 points a game.
Hmm.
This year, if I'm not mistaken, we are with this last loss now averaging under 30 points a game.
And we're not expecting us to continue to score like that. The rules to NCAA have changed. The game has changed to where the clock's moving more. There's less possession, so you're not going to be scoring as many
But
points.
if you just look at
Obviously,
the play calling too, Eric, there's been a major regression.
absolutely, I agree. Richard Phillips, Day is not good in game planning or management. Boy, isn't that the truth?
That's true.
His management, clock management at the end of that game was atrocious, atrocious.
Personnel management as well, because if you look, and again, this could come down to your coordinators, but you as the head coach have a job to or have the duty to take charge of it if they aren't. Did you see the amount of snaps that the defense played again? I
I didn't
believe
even
that the
look.
team up north had 59 snaps. The starting defensive line took 53 snaps apiece.
Only one was it only one drive, only one time
Yep.
that they weren't
Yep.
only once. Yeah, unbelievable. Only one drive the whole game where the starting defensive linemen weren't out there. All right, let's continue on. Oh, Sean says, was he ever good? Question mark. That's a question that
And
I think Chris has been
yeah,
asking here.
Well, like I said, was it him in the beginning, or was it Ryan, or was it Urban Meyer's roster? It
I
was
I'm
left over.
starting I'm starting to believe that Ryan Day was a really, really good passing coordinator,
Yes.
offensive coordinator, QB coach, passing coordinator, offensive coordinator. I don't know that
I've
he's a
been
great
saying
head
for three
coach.
years, Eric.
Don't know that he's a good head coach. Jeff Anderson, he won in the beginning with Urban's players, but not his coaching, and that is what Chris has been preaching. Peggy, I think a lot of people are like Peggy. If he just beats that team up north, she's fine. And if he wins that game Saturday, everything is different right now. We're getting ready for Oregon. We're getting ready for a rematch. We're going back to Indy, and it's a completely different conversation we are having today. And you say, well, it's just one game. It's not. It's the game. And this was the worst team they have had in a long time
Ever.
and the best roster we have had since Ryan Day's been here. It's a $20 million roster,
E-
and
Eric,
you laid a stinker.
think about this. This is probably the worst Michigan team I have ever in my lifetime seen.
I don't know it's the worst
I
because
think
that
it is the
defense is
worst.
still pretty good.
I think it's the worst team that I have ever seen as a whole.
Chris Hamilton. Teams weren't ready for him his first year. They didn't know what to expect. TTUN figured it out. Um, RD needs to stay aggressive and put the doubt. Ryan Day needs to stay aggressive and put the doubters to rest. Yeah, he's not though. That's the problem. As a
Stay
play
aggressive.
caller,
He's not been aggressive.
he's and again, this is another conversation you and I have had, Chris. Is he was a much more aggressive play caller when they weren't his players.
Yeah.
When he became a head coach, and these are his guys now, all of a sudden he's not nearly as aggressive because they're his toys. They're not someone else's toys he's playing with. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Austin Skiver or Skiver, the further away he gets from Irvin, the softer he gets. Doughboy
Agreed.
Day has got to go. Whoa, Doughboy Day, that's a slam.
That sounds like a T-shirt. Fire the dough.
Kyle Hufford, I compared him to Larry Coker right at the get go.
That's a good comparison.
No, it's not. Larry Coker won one, didn't
That's
he?
right. Larry Coker's got a chip.
Uh huh.
He,
And
he did it with Jimmy's boys, but he's got a chip.
and no, it wasn't Jimmy's boys. It was
Or no, it was
yeah, it wasn't Jimmy. Jimmy was far removed by that
Yeah,
point.
Jimmy was the '80s.
It was the younger guy who went on and coached, I think, for the Cleveland Browns and then
Yeah,
the
I can't
North
think of it.
Carolina
Butch,
Tar Heels.
Butch,
Yeah, Butch Davis.
Butch Davis.
There you go. There we go. We found it together. We combined our powers. Um, yeah. No, Larry Coker was also much older than Ryan Day. Although Ryan Day has aged in the past 2 years.
He looks like when a like think back
He,
to when Obama took office as
yeah,
president, and then when he left. That's what
he
Ryan Day has done in the last six
the
years.
bags under that man's eyes is incredible. Matt Lovelace, if he was at least 500 versus them, he would be the most sought after coach in NCAA. I'll take 11 wins every year all day long if he can mix in a streak versus them. Gotta figure it out. I say one more year. If he loses the game next year, then yeah, can him. So Matt is saying he can't stomach 5 in a row. His limit is 5 in a row.
And then next year it'll be six in a row. And the next year it'll be seven in a row. And then it'll be, it doesn't matter because of the 12 team playoff. I swear to God, the next person who tells me it doesn't matter because of the 12 team playoff, I'm going to choke them because the game matters.
Yeah. Amy Hook says big games are the problem. Well, that was the narrative until Saturday. Now it's a
No,
big game to
I
us.
classify, yeah.
It's a big game to us because of who they are. But Chris, they were unranked.
Well, yeah, they sucked.
That's the first time He's lost to an unranked opponent. So you can't even use he doesn't lose to those teams he's not supposed to lose to anymore. He just did. It just happened to be the game and the rival and the one we say throw the records out that he lost to. But you can't even he was hanging his hat on. Well, at least he doesn't lose the games that he's not supposed to like Urban did. He just did. He just did.
Here's the thing. I will take losing a stupid game every now and then. If you're 7-0 against your rival
Yeah.
and have a natty,
Yeah,
I
because
can handle a stupid
you
one.
know why? Because you go in, you win that game, you've got momentum. You now go in the CFP with all the momentum. We're going into the CFP right now with no momentum. You tell me. All right, 10-2, and your two losses are to Oregon and Iowa. But you beat Penn State and you beat Michigan at the end of the year. And although you're not playing for the Big Ten championship, you're going into the college football playoff having beaten Michigan by 3 scores. I'll take that. I would rather do that.
Yes,
That's what Urban did, right? He
yes,
would
and
be
I can
11
handle
and
that.
1 with a stupid loss to Purdue or Iowa,
Iowa, yeah,
right? But guess what? In this era, that's good enough to go to the CFP and probably be the 5th or 6th seed, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So let's continue on. Jeremy Gregg, 2019, 13 cupcakes, one real opponent. 2020, 7 cupcakes. 2021, 11 cupcakes. Eric, you get the picture.
Exactly. I've said it all along. The reason his winning percentage is so high is because he beats up MAC schools and he beats up, mid-level Big Ten schools and he beats up the Western Kentuckys of the world. Uh, you know, yeah, great. You can beat up the lower level teams, the ones that you have miles more talent than. But
Yeah,
when you actually have to coach against somebody,
yeah. I
when you
read
have
that.
to scheme,
I read
yeah,
that Eric. It's actually etc. Sorry. Dan Frock, bad day for him. Yeah, it was indeed. Boyd Browning. Boyd usually gives really good insights. He really thinks about things before he types. I appreciate that about you, Boyd. And he's got a nice little top fan diamond next to his name there on our site. All Coach Day has to do is change his recruitment strategy. He has to recruit more in the trenches type players as opposed to just mostly recruiting offensive talent. He needs to recruit more guys like a 6'4", 320-pound defensive tackle, nose tackle, who runs a 4.4 in the 40, a 6'5", 250-pound defensive end who runs a 4.3 in the 40, offensive linemen who are 6'6", 345 pounds and run a 4.5 in the 40, and are filthy and grimy in the trenches. Develop those type of players along with your skilled offensive players, and by all means try to recruit some corners who have good cover skills and know to look for the ball and not always have their back to the ball, which creates pass interference calls.
a lot of valid points, a lot of valid points in there. But let me tell you, he doesn't have time to recruit these guys because he's gone. He needs to be fired. I'm tired of it. Tired of waiting. Somebody should have given that advice 4 years ago.
Sounds like to me, Boyd, that starts up front with Justin Fry.
Agreed. The guy who has how many recruits in this class?
Yeah. Stephen Robinson, plenty of schools would love his regression. I get I'm annoyed with this Michigan game like everyone else, but y'all better be careful for what you wish for.
I'm wishing for it, Steven. Deal with it.
All right, so let me answer this. And this is again, this is something that I'm going to hark on all off season. Because I've heard the whole Nebraska thing, right? Even the Nebraska guys reached out to me from the Common Fan podcast and said, "Boggs, be careful what you wish for here." Here's the difference: Ohio State is never gonna be Nebraska, and I'll tell you why. It's because the state of Ohio is not the state of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Ohio high school football is too good to allow Ohio State to become irrelevant. You can literally just recruit the top talent in the state of Ohio and you will be good enough to make the college football playoff on a yearly basis.
Yes.
And you sprinkle in a few receivers from Florida, maybe a quarterback from California, maybe a linebacker from Texas. You sprinkle those guys in, but the bulk of what you do is recruit the state of Ohio, and you'll never fall to the depths that Nebraska has fallen.
which is
And
Ryan
because
Day's
Nebraska
problem.
doesn't have the recruiting base that we have in its own state.
But we don't take advantage of it, Eric, and that's a big
We
part of the
don't.
problem.
It is part of the problem. It is. And we're going to be doing a show. It's going to be one of the things I have a list of things in the off season that we're going to get to, and one of them is the failure of the culture that is being built at Ohio State under Ryan Day. What is the culture,
There
and
isn't
what
one.
does the culture need to be? And a big part of that is a lack of understanding of what football is in the state. I think he understands the rivalry. I don't think he understands our state's football culture. I've been thinking a lot about that. So hang around with us. Make sure you're subscribed and ring the bell so you don't miss when we do those things, have those conversations. Here's Eric Osbeck. Yes, with 5 exclamation marks. He never progressed. I think that's true.
Yeah,
It's Daniel with a picture of who is that? That's not Jean Claude Van Damme. Who is that? It's the other, the funny karate guy. I forget. Anyways, he says, breaking news: OSU coach Ryan Day expected to be fired after stunning loss. That's funny. Kenneth Crosby, his accomplishments equals 0.
yeah,
Yeah. Tony Love's got a picture of Ryan Day standing on third base. Is that true? Was Ryan Day born on third base?
absolutely.
I think so. Someone said born on third base and stole second, went backwards.
That
Craig
that
Phillips
that's
has got a
actually a great analogy right there.
yeah. What this picture that Craig Phillips put or
No, the
on third
born on
base?
third base and stole second.
Yeah. Craig Phillips has got a picture of Ryan Day's face with the Coaching for Idiots book from the
The
Water
water
Boy.
boy.
Yeah. Rob Schaller, some of the OSU fan base is brain dead. What's your point, Rob? That that I don't know what
Because
argument you're
don't you
trying to
know the
make.
narrative? Because the narrative with a percentage of this fan base is if you don't blindly follow and agree with everything that the coaches do, you're not a real fan. There is a percentage of the fan base who follows that narrative. That
Yeah.
is their narrative. I know because I've been arguing with them for 4 days.
Well, here we are. Mark Princehorn, stop it. Ohio State trying to become Nebraska. I already just answered why that won't be. Mark, you can rest assured that won't happen. Last one. Chris Porter. Eric Chris Corey. I would love to hear your thoughts on this in a podcast. We have a lot of players in their last year. After what happened on Saturday and given Coach Day's record in the playoffs, what do you see the chance of winning a national championship if most of them decide to opt out of the postseason to avoid injury before the draft? Now, that's not what this video is. However, Chris, I will give Chris the floor to touch on that because I was on my way home from work today, and the fan had actually touched on this.
Yeah.
Will there be teams in the college football playoff that will have players opt out of the playoff to protect themselves from getting hurt in the playoff to protect their draft status?
Yes.
And I thought about it for a second, and I'm going to say yes. And here's my
There
quick
will be.
answer. Here's my quick answer why. If a player looks at the situation that he is in and he says to myself, I don't see any chance that we're going to win this thing, and I've got millions of dollars riding on my health for the next month or two, and he weighs up the cost ratio here and says, I'm not willing to get hurt, he still might opt out. Now, one of the reasons why they extended the college football playoff is because the bowl system was broken because players were opting out of the bowl season. and they thought this was going to fix that. I think we're going to find out it's not going to.
Two things it's done. A, it's not going to fix that. And two, as we predicted, and just listen to the response about how some people have reacted to the game, it is making the regular season irrelevant. It has gone to the point where some fans, some former players, Eric, have come out and said it doesn't matter. They're still in the playoff. I'm not going to call out that former player, but there was a former player on Facebook who said, yeah, it sucks that they lost, but it doesn't matter because they're still in the playoff.
That that is only a partial true statement if no one opts out. But we've already got two players who
Because they're in
are
the
in the
portal.
portal.
And it's,
Now
we're going to have more,
now are were they starters? No. Were they backups?
somewhat.
Maybe third string, somewhat, yeah. But I'll tell you what it does. It affects your depth immediately.
Absolutely.
It affects how good the scout team is going to be that you're using to prepare yourself for these games immediately. And so all of that has to be taken into account. All of it.
And Eric, I think people are going to be surprised at the number of players that I think will opt out for Ohio State.
This year?
And yes, I think you will have some opt out because of the fact that they, like much of the fan base, has lost faith in what Ryan Day can do.
Mm.
I think that is a big part of it. If you talked about looking at your situation, what is your situation? What has Ryan Day done over the course of the last 4 years of your playing career to show you that you're going to make a legitimate run at this playoff?
Well, that remains to be seen, Chris, because if they will or not opt out, as we record this on Tuesday night, um, we've only seen two players enter the transfer portal off this roster.
Right?
There's been no news on that. We'll have to see where all these players' health are. I could see someone saying he's not, he's not going in this game because he's injured, and we know that it's more of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm probably
Yeah.
opting out, but they're going to use the injury as an excuse. I could see that maybe more so than a player just straight up on this roster, straight up coming out and saying I'm opting out. I'd be, I mean, if if boy, I don't want to even bring this up. This is bad mojo, but I think you have to. What if a Jeremiah Smith all of a sudden is in the portal?
And it would be 100%
A
surprising. Like I
Caleb
said,
Downs.
Caleb wouldn't surprise me at all either.
What if those two guys, who, by the way, just won major awards through the Big Ten today, freshman of the year, receiver of the year, and defensive back of the year, or safety of the year in the Big Ten. If those two guys all of a sudden were in the portal tomorrow, you're going into the playoffs without your best offensive weapon and your best defensive player.
Hey, that worked for Michigan.
You like at that point, don't you have to say Ryan Day lost this team?
I firmly
You
believe that he's lost this team, but I don't know
right,
that
but that's the isn't that the that would be almost like the
that would be
icy,
proof.
like the exclamation mark, right? Like
Yeah,
how do
and
you
I'll
not
tell you,
argue? How do you argue that he didn't at that point?
there are players who are very upset at what happened Saturday, the way the game plan shook out, the way just the general thing shook out, uh, and we saw part of that frustration on the field after the game. But I think that it's gotten much worse since then because people have had time to go back to look at the tape to evaluate exactly what happened Saturday. I'm here to tell you, Eric, I firmly believe Ryan Day has lost this team. I think we will see, sadly, I think we'll see more people enter the portal. I do think we'll see a few people opt out, whether they use the injury excuse or not. I think it's going to happen. Um, I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't feel like he has this team.
Like, share, subscribe. It does help out the channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them, have a conversation with some of you about it. Um, And if you are a fan of that team up north and you're still taking victory laps, congratulations. Continue to do so. Your coin spins just as good as anybody else's, and we appreciate you. By the way, while you're doing it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. That's the least you could do while you gloat. And for those of you who enjoy the conversation and the content, it's not a good conversation or a conversation I necessarily enjoy having. However, it is a conversation worth having. And if you enjoy this type of content, we do this on almost a daily basis for all of you. We have 3 live shows every single week. We have Sunday night, our roundtable discussion show, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. every Sunday evening. Monday night, we have Buckeye Therapy with Corey. Corey sits down and goes in depth about a topic with someone. You could be Chris, could be me, could be a guest like he had B Moses this past Monday. And then we have our call-in show every Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Your opportunity to call in, talk to Chris, myself, someone here at the podcast, and get your thoughts heard about what's going on in the land of Ohio State. Chris, any final thoughts?
I'm just wondering, has Dr. Corey had to extend his office hours after this last Saturday?
There was a line outside his office. I suggested that he drive around the state of Florida picking up a few more of those famous sofas that are laying on the side of the freeway and extend his office hours and business because there were a lot of Ohio State fans lined up to get in to get some Buckeye therapy this past Monday.
I'll tell you, Eric. I mean, this is, the part that upsets me most is I feel like each of the last 4 years, or we've had a really, really long off season, and I feel like it's going to be a very rough off season again.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's never boring around here, that's for sure.
That's true.
We love y'all. Remember, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen, Ohio with all your heart. Chris, you know what to do. Till next time, OH.
I
Go Bucks.